And we're back, and we have a lot of notes to cover today.
A lot of notes.
Yes, because last week I didn't cover any. But we should be able to move through them pretty quickly.
I bet.
I'm in a process of getting back to normal life after spending a week trying to, be a good host, occupy, satisfy.
Understand.
For those that listen, by the way, if you are interested in coming to Solstice one year or whatever it becomes, so here's the way to do it. DM me on Patreon. I put you on a list, and then I'm cycling people through. So that also is a message to all those people that have been here, last year, the year before, that like there is a group of people that I'm cycling through, to try to give everybody an opportunity. Obviously, I'm not cycling Chris through. He lives 15 minutes down the road.
As long as I get a ride, I'm always going to be here.
You know what I mean? And he's also a part of what I do, right? Same with Chucky O. Yeah. Same with Jisk, Robert, or Sam and Big Sam in England. Like they're a part of what I do. So but there are other attendees that like I am going to try to cycle through. So if you're interested, hit me up on Patreon, and it's basically, as I cycle through, it's just going to go in seniority. If I have like, let's say 5 open slots, then I look at the DMs and I look at how long they've been a member, and the longest member gets the first invite, second longest member gets on down the line. Outside of that, I don't really have a whole lot for introductions. I have consumed some content this week.
Oh boy.
So I am anxious to talk a bit about some of that. Some of it's been better than others, as you might imagine.
Oh yeah.
But we also have Chucky O with us today.
Howdy, guys.
Fucking Joe is still out on assignment. I'm hoping this is his last week out on assignment. That dude came back from Japan, and then he came back on a Monday and was scheduled for work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Oh,
yeah.
He's a fucking madman.
Yeah,
I don't know how you do that.
Not even a day to decompress.
Yeah, that's insane to me.
But I think that's the most valuable day of your vacation is taking that day once you're home and just.
It's paramount.
Yeah, because if not, it's like you're never going to unpack that suitcase.
So, it's speaking of decompressing. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with people about 9/11 humor. Right, like in at what point, you know what I mean? Time wise, was it okay? Because for those that remember, Gilbert Gottfried dropped a joke. Like I think it was that Friday. The planes hit that Tuesday, and then that joke landed on a Friday, where he said, "Sorry, I'm late, but I had a layover at the Empire State Building," and like people were like, "Boo!" And then it like now if you drop one, it's kind of nobody really bats an eye.
Was he the first person that got like canceled?
So
like, from modern,
he's up in that conversation. Like I would say lowercase c probably. Like Andrew Dice Clay is another one that I always go to because they try to shut him down. Like
yes, but not for something that was like. Well, but he was politically correct, but timing wise,
right?
Yeah, foot in mouth kind of cancellation.
Yeah. So anyway, we were talking about it. And I was saying, like, the first time that I heard a 9/11 joke, because I didn't check that show out. It was like a roast or something. I didn't check it out 2 years later. But the first time I heard a 9/11 joke, I had, like, mixed feelings about it. Because there's, like, I recognized why it was funny, this joke. But I also, like, am considering the tragedy, right?
Sure.
And then the second one hit.
Oh, gosh. Oh. Oh, jeez.
Man.
Anyway, Chucky, you did get your coffee first, but you are more of a guest, so why don't you lead us off on how your nerd week was?
So speaking of 9/11, I was I was at the spent the day before Memorial Day at Flight 93.
Oh, in Pennsylvania.
Did
you ever see any of the movies associated with that?
Yeah. There was a point where I don't recall them all right now, but
I saw one of them because they're very similar. I think one was like Flight 93 and one was like United 93.
There was one that was like almost a documentary style and one that was like a dramatized.
The one that I own it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sorry. But it's fantastic. And one of the reasons why it's fantastic is because everybody that was hired for the job of playing passengers were play actors.
Okay. Oh, all right.
So you didn't recognize any of them, and you weren't able to associate them with anything else. So they were like these random strangers on.
Yeah.
It's like one of the smartest decisions that movie. But it
Like,
is
oh, hey, that's Emily Blunt sitting in row 7F.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
you can't break it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And each one of like the passengers met with the families, like to like learn who the you know, they really took a lot of care with it. I do recommend it. It's good. I mean, you know how it ends,
Right.
but it is
Right.
quite good.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience because, you know, driving through Pennsylvania, I've always kind of seen it and been like, oh, I'd like to stop there sometime. And I was out, you know, with camping with some people, riding dirt bikes, and I was like, oh man, this is like 15 minutes away.
Camping with anybody I know?
Yeah.
Who are you fucking camping with?
Jacobs.
Okay. Oh, all that whole crew. Are you getting in with that crew?
You know, just dabbing in the mud.
Wow.
He dabbles.
Yeah, this dude Jacobs, he is one of the most interesting people.
Yeah.
He is like he's older, been around the block a few times.
50. Yeah.
Long teeth.
He's like a Frederick historian.
Yes.
Like he would come out here and be like, oh, of course you're out here. Yeah, so this was owned by the Dayton family. They owned a farm here, and they actually inherited it from someone. He's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'd be like, and you know, not for nothing, a little patch right underneath that tree. They grew marijuana for about 10 years. They had to shut it down because a cop ended up moving across. Like it's just these little things that he knows.
Wow.
Like, and funny, dry sense of humor,
and like knowledgeable and like, you know, mechanic and
carpenter,
motorcycles, like just easily one of the more interesting and really kind of humble about, you know, his skill set and willing to, you know, he's riding motorcycles across the country and across the world.
The best type.
And he's willing to like go with me riding dirt bikes from, you know, I've never done it. And he's just coming along and watching me and getting me slight improvement, you know.
He's the best type of smart guy because he never lets you know how smart he is.
Yeah.
So you're saying his favorite word isn't actually.
Or I.
Yeah.
Or some derivative thereof.
Actually. Yeah.
I, me, that sort of,
Yeah. So we actually went to the memorial with him and Mike, and you know, it was really good. It was I'll be honest, like it was tough. Like the
really, like a visceral sort of wow.
Like there was a point where I was like, man, I can't listen to those phone calls. I don't think I'll keep my composure if I do.
Oh, they have them there.
Yeah, they have like it's like a mock-up of a cross-section of an airplane.
And on the back I thought you were going to say mosque. I'm like, weird choice.
I know. Back of the seats, they have these little like phones, and it like, I was like, nope, can't do that. Gonna break down. But it's actually one of the more beautiful parks, like the field and everything. And they have the kind of the crash site, you know, cordoned off with granite and whatnot, hemlock.
It's like a modern day Gettysburg.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And, you know, so I'm kind of struggling getting down there, like just getting choked up. And we sit down for this park ranger who kind of retells like timeline. They're really big about timeline up there, retells the story. And afterwards I walked away of like, man, those people died, a warrior's death. They took control of their fate in the last moments of it. What else can you ask for? So I definitely, 100%. I definitely walked away, you know, an emotional roller coaster of like, really like, oh man, this was done to them. Oh, this is horrible. To like, man, if you were dealt those cards, what's the best way to deal with it?
Yeah.
So for the weekend, it was great. Other than that, I've been playing video games. Quick shift.
Have you ever been to the World Trade Center in Baltimore?
Outside of it.
Have you seen like that?
Yeah, the bent up piece.
Yeah, because they have the timeline all on that too. I think the timeline is
man, they are way more into the timeline.
No. Sure. But I just think that there's something about that day where the timeline is super important.
So the timeline with them, you know, because they like you'll walk up to the visitor center and they have the timeline in stone as you're walking up. The real issue that they hammered home is the reason these people, you know, really flipped the script and fought, because you got to remember back then, the old concept of an airplane being hijacked was, oh, they're going to land it in Egypt. We just cooperate. They're going to
Pay the money.
But because that particular plane got delayed out of Newark, there was time for their family members to say, hey,
Something's
2
not
buildings have crashed. You're in one. They're going to crash it. There's no waiting this out. And so all these people were faced, with a not
Tough
just
decision.
one call, but multiple people were like, oh, this is what they're doing. And they all come to that kind of paradigm shift of like, well, if we don't fight, we die. If we fight, maybe we live.
Yeah.
So like that timeline didn't occur for the first 2 planes. And Flight 93 was the one that did. So like they definitely hammer home, not just the first tower, second tower.
And
but,
theirs was after DC too, or before?
I believe it was after.
I think so too.
Yeah. So like they knew
Right.
That
what
was supposed to be the White House, right?
Yeah,
That-
Or the
was it
Capitol. I feel like
somewhere.
Yeah.
it was somewhere in DC.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I've heard White House, Capitol.
Capitol is what I gathered from there was, and I walked away thinking Flight 93 was going to be aimed at the Capitol.
Okay.
Because they had talked about how many people were, it was a day that they were in session. And so like it was very strongly implied, but not.
That one would have been
Oh yeah.
critical.
That would have.
Yeah.
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 It's crazy.
As bad as it was, from an infrastructure standpoint, it could have been a lot
Far worse. Yeah, that's crazy.
that had happened.
We were talking. We actually were talking about 9/11 jokes yesterday, and like I was one of the early ones that I remember was there was a guy who was like. He was like it was like in the soft era of 9/11 joking when like you couldn't go full 9/11 joke.
Sure.
But he was like, you know what irritated me about the whole thing was like anybody you met, somehow their fucking town was next on the list. Everybody's town was next on the list. And he was like, you meet some guy in Nebraska. He's like, yeah, you hear the cereal silos. They were next on the list.
Yeah.
They were next on the list. And he was like, then you just imagine commemorative cereal boxes with Tony the Tiger with his head down and thumbs down like this. And then there was a comedian, and I can't remember who it was, but I remember he was talking about like how they were held at basically like box cutter point.
Yeah.
They said there were bombs and everything else. There was a bigger threat at hand, but it was technically at a box cutter, And he was like, I wish they'd have tried that on the city bus. The fucking bus driver would have pulled over, beat the shit out of them, thrown them out of the side door, and got back on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, like how kind of I think comedians get gallows humor. The idea about coping by joking.
It's important.
And I think that a broad swath of your average society doesn't. I think there are military people get it, police officers get it. And I think that while like the Friday after might be a little early, I think it's a normal.
It's a therapeutic healing.
Yeah, coping mechanism.
100%.
And I think that there are people that 20 years later aren't ready for it.
Yeah.
I think that 5 years later there are people that it's the therapeutic. So
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I'm don't get me wrong. I'm usually not gut laughing at any of them.
Right.
But I can appreciate the humor of something.
Well,
like that.
so to me, it's hand in hand. It's a hand in hand thing. So like I do gut laugh at some of them. Like one of like the ones that like really got me. One of the first ones that like really cracked me.
Yeah.
Was knock knock.
Who's there?
9/11.
9/11 who?
You said you'd never forget.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I'm also well educated on it, and I do take it seriously. And I've been to fucking New York, the memorial, and I've been I've taken it seriously enough.
Yeah.
Where I'm also comfortable laughing at it too, because I understand both sides of it. Not both sides of the argument, both
Good
sides
people
of
on both sides.
Yeah, but both sides of coping.
So one of the things that I experience anger there, and I hate to get political. Like I feel like people it's not a matter of forgetting. I feel like we are now at a point where there is a generation that never really knew, and like we see protests these days that you're like, man, there's a section in the Middle East that cheered on that and would do it again if they could, and now there's a section of our populace that is like, hey, these are okay people, and it to me, like, there was this.
That is a huge swing. You're right about that. That is a huge swing.
There was an inflection as I'm standing there in front of some of these displays of like people's faces and everything, where I'm like, man, this is what it like. We talked about like never forget. This is what it feels like. We're a part of our not a matter of forgetting, but just didn't know or not acknowledged. And so it was the first time that I really experienced that, and I'm still struggling with it, not coming to grips. And again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe just because they're from the Middle East and they're radical,
Well, there are different levels to it, right? Like there's a difference between a Taliban member and an Al Qaeda member.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
There's nuance. There's nuance.
100%.
There's a lot of nuance.
100%.
And the thing to keep in mind is, Vietnam to us is the same as, like the generation that's now, like, none of my children were alive in 2001. My oldest was born the next year.
Yeah.
But like, it's just something that happened, and like they don't remember.
It's Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I mean, and I think COVID for an extent is going to be the thing that,
Yeah.
like you can say, I remember when you used to be able to go to Walmart at 3 a.m, shop for groceries by yourself.
Yeah.
Things that have changed, but like, they don't remember not having to take your shoes off to get in an airplane, right? Or having travel size shampoo and all that shit.
Well, and my baby will probably never remember a time where masks weren't a part of society.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
You know,
I mean, and there's
kind of like, it's like crazy to consider.
I say this often when we talk about that, like in I don't care at this point, you do whatever you want, but why are you going to wear a mask incorrectly in 2024?
Yeah.
Well, and why are you wearing
especially outside?
Well, that too.
I saw somebody wearing the noseless mask outside the other day.
Well, I saw, now if you have something that you're trying to keep away, then salute to you.
Yes.
But I was with some gentlemen from overseas this past week, and one of them was like, "Why is this person wearing a mask outside?" And I erred on the side of benefit of the doubt. I said maybe they're sick and they're trying to protect other people, because masks have now become a part of that theologically.
Yes.
And I was like, but unfortunately, all of that stuff became so politically charged that yes, it's a mask, but it's also a symbol.
Yeah.
For better or worse. And in some environments, not wearing it is a symbol.
Yep.
Oh
yeah. It's,
and it's not necessarily about how you think about that specific thing. It's about how you think about all things.
I don't know what my dentist looks like. I ain't never seen him without a mask.
And he's got the nerve to be in your mouth all fucking day.
Yeah. It's interesting what becomes a political symbol and what is, you always see someone with the flags. Some group adopts a flag and it's changed or historically had a different meaning. I mean, masks. Like, I remember when it was just like, over in Asia, occasionally you see buses full of people with masks.
Yeah, or over here. So every now and then you might see an Asian with a, and that was like, okay, that's part of the culture.
The culture,
right? Exactly.
Yeah, and now it's progressed from a dispute, a subculture to a dispute to easily identifying. That one's probably a Democrat or a Republican.
Yep, I'm branding myself with an identity.
Yeah, and it's not a red and blue. It is.
I just don't want to sneeze in anybody's mouth.
Right. I mean, and there's a practical aspect to that.
All right.
Yeah.
So
you play video games.
Yeah, how are the video games?
So
please tell me you're playing like Pokemon or something super light now. You're not. No, probably
no.
not.
Helldivers.
Okay, I haven't played it. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's phenomenal. I love it. I've got like 177 hours into it. It's cool. It's kind of like a blend of light fascism, 40K, a la Starship Troopers,
right?
Little tongue in cheek. We're probably the baddies kind of thing. So that's been cool. It's been like 3 months.
What do you play that on?
PlayStation.
You got a PS5?
It's not on. Yeah, it's not on Xbox. So PlayStation and PC.
PC, yeah.
So that's been cool. Did you played a bunch of Cyberpunk, right?
I probably got about 1,000 hours of that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'll get you
over several saves. The last save I have has 800 hours on it.
So I saw some sad news about that last night. There are 0 developers working on that now. They've all shifted to Witcher 4.
Right. So I keep up with that pretty good. So they released, obviously the game came out in 2000, I think.
Damn.
What?
No.
Yeah. No.
2001. It was no. It was
the
2019.
2019. Yes.
It came out in 2019. And it was shit. They rushed it out. And they say one of the things is they wanted it to work on the older consoles. And it's too big. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So like this, and they fixed it, and I played it all the way through. I grinded, and it's funny. I thought the other day, I was like, I wonder what it'd be like to load this game up and not do any of the updates, just to see how awful it was.
Oh, yeah.
But, by the time they got to this last DLC pack with the Idris Elba bit, the Phantom Liberty, it did have some bugs still, or some bugs in that, but they fixed it all, and rarely have any problems when I play. I haven't played in a while because there's literally all there is to run around and blow people's heads up.
Yeah, I've
just plenty of fun.
Yeah.
Just
it's well worth
it's polished because I was definitely following the hype train for its development for like 10 years.
It was in 10 years in development.
And really got turned off by all the bugs at the and I didn't have a 5 at the time, so I was like,
Well, that's during it was the summer of 2020. It's like, I want a PS5. How do I get one?
Yeah.
And I followed some dude on Twitter. And was like, this is the guy. He's going to post links.
I remember.
I was able to grab one on the Sony website, and then I got that game. And
I did the Sony website thing as well. Like my buddy ended up getting it like 9 months before I did. Somewhere else, and
now you can go to Walmart and buy one.
Right.
There are like 3 different versions at Walmart.
Yeah, I remember being on a Walmart list.
That was a shit show. I never could get on that stuff.
Yeah, it was terrible. But playing a couple games, trying to I don't know, give myself some couch time because I've been a lot of motorcycles. Picked up disc golf again.
Renaissance man over here.
Yeah.
I like playing disc golf. I haven't played in years. It's fun.
That was me. Like I played.
My brother used to play a lot.
I played in tournaments back in like 05, 06. Yes.
Did you get the golden frisbee?
I've got a couple of them.
I was fucking kidding.
So I pick up my bag. I haven't touched this thing in well over a decade. Going through of like, basically my wife was like, oh, what do you want to do? And most of the time I'm like, I don't know, play video games, ride a motorcycle. And then this day I was like, you know what, damn it, we're going to go and we're going to throw some disc golf. You've never done it? Great. Let's go. Let's have fun. And we've been doing it a lot now. So I went in my bag and I'm looking at these discs and everything. I'm like, oh, okay, well, this one might be good for you. I'm like, oh, look at this one, U.S. Masters 2007. Oh, that's cool. A disc that I found at a disc golf course. It's worth like $200 now.
Nice.
Apparently, it's like one of 168 pressings, and like I know it gets weird.
If you play it backwards, does it tell you to work for the devil?
It tells you how to throw effectively.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was like, man, I'm usually $15 disc, but I found a little golden disc in my bag after some years. So
the golden disc.
Yeah, just been going out with the wife, throwing disc golf, just having fun, being terrible at it.
Yeah.
But like, we get to go places now. It's like, oh, let's go. You're not working, I'm not working. Let's go. It's nice out. Let's go. So getting out doing that. So
that's awesome.
I see you got a biker gang jacket on.
Yeah.
Well, I look for the 3-piece rocker. I look for the 3-piece rocker. On
mine's on its way. Yeah, it's.
Are you a prospect?
Well, technically, no. I'm in the International Association of Moppers.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I love the logo.
Because I was, essentially hazed as I started my mopping.
Gotcha.
They knock over my mopping bucket or like walk over the floor that I just mopped.
That's the worst. I do that this morning at McDonald's. I felt bad.
Was definitely,
I don't think she was in the union,
definitely
though.
hazed, but because I'm in that union, they're like, nah, you can just be in the motorcycle club because we've already hazed you as a part of that. And
there you go.
It's exclusive. So I'm waiting on my 3-piece back patch for that.
Nice.
So
Nice.
It's awesome.
yeah, no, it's been fun riding dirt bikes, and then I just bought a big old Harley Davidson. Yeah, it's Outback. It's sweet.
So you bought a proper motorcycle now.
I mean, both were proper.
Can I sit on your bike?
You can.
We're proper.
Yeah, but no, this one's this one can definitely kill me. The other one, like someone have to like hit me to kill me, but this one I can just fucking rip that throttle and
What
eat
kind
myself.
of Harley did you get?
A Police Road King. 103.
Why does that seem to fit just perfectly, Bobby?
It's an old police bike.
Like what year is it?
2014.
Okay, so it's not super old.
No, it's got just over 8,000 miles.
So it's a big
on
fairing, the fairing and everything.
No, so the Road King is like the minimal, the Street Glide or Lux Glide or whatever language they use. But yeah, I bought it to do like these cone course competitions because of course I did.
Cone course competition.
Yeah. So like police, when they train, they do these tough cone layouts as part of their training. And then afterwards, for some reason on the taxpayer's dime, they travel and they go compete at these little things.
Oh, that sounds
fun. And I want to go there and compete at these. And because I looked at it, I was like, I can do that better than them. And I've got a plan now. There's I'm gonna buy these luggage tags. They are donuts.
Okay.
They're like rubber donuts. And so I'm gonna hang these rubber donuts on the back of this motorcycle at these police functions while I ride through.
You're gonna be
a popular guy.
Gonna be the belle of the ball.
A popular guy.
They're gonna say, "Where's that guy with the glass slipper?" We need to find him.
Yes. Where can I find him and shake his hand? So, yeah, that's.
You should just bring donuts to the event.
Yeah.
I love my favorite quote of all this so far is, so I bought it to do cone course competitions because of course I did.
It's great.
So my wife loves it because the other motorcycle I had, I just go off and ride and wherever. Mm-hmm. And now, like, don't get me wrong, like I had a great ride this morning, but if she's like, hey, do you want to go practice cone course stuff? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And she'll go and she'll help me set up the course and like film me and give me critique. I got a book and it's like, okay, this is where people make mistakes. And I'm trying to squeeze honesty out of her because she's like, you did so good.
Yeah, she's such a sweet
person. You
did
so good. And I'm like, no, I want to know, like, did I look like trash here? Did I, so she's kind of my very, very sweet little coach.
Nice.
And for her, she's just like, I'm glad we can do something together on the motorcycle or while you're training on the motorcycle. So, no, that's been good. I've got to develop my patience because there's sometimes that I set her up for failure in a sense. Like I bought this tape measure because you got to measure where these cones are at. I try to pull a tape measure and measure cones out. So I ended up buying one of those roller measure. So it's going to make her life so much easier and me
what a gentleman.
Frustrated.
Man, then you can go.
What a lucky gal.
Yeah, she is.
You can go stripe the ball field too if you wanted to measure it out.
Yeah. So no, that's what I've been up to is that jazz. So
awesome.
It's been good.
Good.
Been good.
It doesn't have to be toys to be nerdy, folks.
That's true.
It can be cones.
Yep. You never know with him.
Cones.
You never know with him. Pinkerton, how about yourself?
I've flown all over the damn country the past 3 weeks.
You have.
And boy, are my arms tired. So where should I begin? So
from the end.
Well, it's probably better. But real quick, Bobby, do you know what you call a reluctant potato?
Tell me.
A hesitator. Pretty bad, huh? I have to remember to tell Joe about that. So, let's see. 2 weeks, it would have been 3 Fridays ago. So just real quick overview here. My job, I manage 3 accounts, companies you would have heard of. Mm-hmm. And one of them on a Friday said, we need you in Chicago next week for a meeting about these issues we're having. The thing that sucks about those issues is it's nothing I'm in control of. It's my company's fault, but I can't make other people do their job if they don't report to me, and they don't.
Right.
Pretty common around corporate America that this happens. So it is determined that my boss and I are both going to go to Chicago for a meeting Thursday. It's going to be a 3-hour meeting.
A 3-hour meeting.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be gone the entire next week. I need to be home to get some stuff done. I'm just going to do a 1-day trip to Chicago and back.
Ooh.
So I left my house at 4 a.m.
On a flight, that's not terrible.
6 a.m. flight out of BWI.
What is it? 3 hours?
It's 2.
Yeah.
2 hours?
Get over there, fine, no problem. My boss gets there shortly thereafter. Uber, meeting, lunch. Could have been a virtual call. Right?
Yeah.
Whatever. You want us here, that's my job. I'm here to do that. Got some issues resolved, some plans made. Back to the airport. I have a 6:30 flight home. Should be home at 9. Airport, I think at 9 or so, something like that.
Long day.
Time.
Yeah.
Of course, they didn't have a crew for the plane, which your staffing issues is not my problem. I'm assuming a plane that the crew was supposed to be on was late from somewhere. It's no telling.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I got back to my house at 1 a.m. Oof. A 21-hour day.
Oof. Long day.
The next day, I talked to my boss that morning, and I told him that story. And he had been delayed too. But I'm like, we have a couple meetings today, then I'm pretty much done. He's like, yeah, me too. So
yeah.
That Monday, I'm trying to think what I did that week. I did something that weekend. I can't remember what it was. So Monday, the following Monday, last Monday, I flew to Phoenix for work.
Which is crazy.
That I'd never been out that part of the world before. That country.
Hot as fuck.
It's hot, and just the geography is just like, are we on the same planet?
Yeah,
because it's so different. I mean, there's hardly any grass. It's just
lizards,
scorpions. Freaking, you see these giant cactuses taller than your house.
Yeah.
Went and visited with some customers. Went to a site, a mine site. And we're driving. We're in the desert, driving. We're supposed to meet this person for lunch. We're driving. Desert. We had to pee. Got unpeed. Got back in the car. There's nothing. Literally nothing. We're like, we're going to die out here. We're GPS is taking us to this. It's supposed to be a restaurant.
You're lucky GPS is working.
Well.
Oh, okay.
There's no cell signal, so I guess that probably works a little different. I'm not exactly sure how, but we get there and we pull up and it's this restaurant. Literally, there's nothing. It's just like, it looks like a bar from a biker movie, right? You'd expect to see like 20 Harleys sitting outside, and walk in and it's this quaint little. It's a sports bar. It has great Mexican food.
No kidding. Well, I guess
it was the best Mexican food I had the whole time I was there.
Nice.
So that was fun. Once we realized we weren't going to die, went out to Tucson also, which is about a 2-hour drive from there.
Real quick. Yeah. There was a funny bit on a Martin Lawrence stand-up one time where he was like, he was talking about boxing, and he was like, white people, you want a heavyweight champion. Let me hear it. I know you want it. Let me hear it. I want to hear you say it. And these guys like, yeah. And he's like, I knew it. Never going to happen. And he was like, as long as there's a brother unemployed, he'll beat your ass for a nickel and a biscuit. and then like all the black guys, like all the black crowd starts like laughing and clapping. And he's like, but don't laugh too and clap too hard, because for every one of y'all, there's a Puerto Rican somewhere waiting to kick your ass. And then you hear like another little pocket of the audience laugh, and he's like, whoa. For all of you, there's a Native American somewhere waiting to kick your ass. See, the lower you go down the social scale, the better the fighters get. Yeah. But then he said, but then he flipped it and he was like, you know what I love about white people when they win a boxing thing? It's never any shout outs. I don't have to hear who their fucking barber is and all this other bullshit. It's just Tucson, Arizona, coming home.
Sounds about right. My customers aren't necessarily on Main and Main. Sometimes they're in industrial park. Sometimes they're in shipping lanes. So where I went to Tucson was a little sketchy.
Oh, yeah.
And then it makes you realize, like, how do I say this? The way I guess the way people live their lives in some parts of the country compared to how we live ours here, it's kind of humbling, right? You know, these little bitty stucco houses with, no yard, and it's just tiny little things. But I always say in my head, I'm like, this is somebody's dream. This is somebody has worked their entire life to be able to live this comfortably.
Yeah.
So I never judge anybody on that, but it's just like, wow, it's so different. You're right there by the border, pretty close, all things considered. So
yeah, I always think, especially like driving out to Chicago all those years that I did it. You drive through like really poor,
such an awful drive
parts of the country. Like
Ohio, just in general.
Yeah,
Ohio's the Alabama of the Midwest.
Like it's just like dreadful, and like and then you start to think like, why the fuck is this so different? And it's just because you're near DC, you're near all these like metropolitan areas where business and commerce is thriving.
Oh yeah. There's definitely a bubble of prosperity around here from the influx of like tax dollars and just the bulk of running the federal government. Whereas you go out to middle America and there's none of that. And
now it's a tragedy.
Yeah. Unless it's like
it's ravaged by drugs.
The grain mill is the only thing that the grain silos are the economic.
I mean, there's
force.
There's so many pockets of America where the economy is based on one thing. Let me just think about Detroit, right? Mm-hmm. Think about what happened to Detroit. That happens like West Virginia with the mines,
100%.
Not having as many people going in the mines, then they're doing more automated stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's also a ton of big business involved in all this.
Yeah.
Like gold and copper. How many devices do we have right now that have gold and copper in them?
Oh yeah.
Bobby, your water bottle probably has either gold or copper in it. So that's not going to go anywhere. So that then provides a lot of jobs. A lot of people work in the mines, and they're surface mines. Nobody's going in, in holes.
Right.
But just the sheer size of these things, and the one I don't have my certification. I mean, I let it lapse during COVID, but I couldn't go on the property. But just to see it, it's like it might be 10,000 acres. It's a ridiculous amount of land.
Yeah.
Of what?
The mining for copper.
Oh,
yeah, just like these giant shelves that they've done these, and like I've seen like on Gold Rush and shit.
Right.
In this scope, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing. Ate it. I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but in Tucson, I know in Phoenix, it probably one of the best meals I've ever had at a restaurant.
No kidding.
It was phenomenal.
So great Mexican, and then another great meal. Oh, wow, that's nothing to turn your nose over
on the company dime.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's see here. So came back from Houston or from Phoenix, and I'll say that I normally, even if it's out of my own pocket, will upgrade my seat to like a aisle seat or an exit row or comfort, just because I'm a giant human being.
Oh yeah.
And we booked this flight late, and I was glad I just didn't have a middle seat, because it was both ways. I was pinned in pretty good, but luckily on both flights, I did some trading with the aisles, and like, hey, there was like in front of us, there was only one person, and then there was three of us in this aisle. I'm like, hey man, why don't you hop up a seat and then we can scoot over and da. So
nice.
Made it a little bit more comfortable, but came back, picked Sam up at the airport on Thursday, and we were right into the party mode. So took him home. Brink came over on Friday also, and I think it's all that was at my house. Then we went to Eternia Dreams, and then a whole bunch of people that we had kind of met there. Good times there. Some silly shenanigans.
Yeah.
And then there was like 12 people at my house. I was trying to tell Kelly, I'm like, we're not feeding people. You don't have to do anything but just hang out.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And then, of course, they had rented a bunch of people had the Airbnb. It was an awesome spot. Super chill in the middle of nowhere. It's on like 40 acres, so you can do whatever you want. Had a great time out there. I got in the bag probably the most I have in years.
Yeah.
Drinking peach whiskey. It was a great time seeing everybody. And then, of course, Saturday I met up with Eric B, and we went over to Joey's and worked out, and got ready and came over and had a blast over here. Met a bunch of friends that hadn't seen in a long time, and met some new people. Waleed from
Australia,
from Down Under.
That's the furthest. Yeah.
Wow.
And I enjoyed hanging out with some of your childhood friends.
Yeah, dude. How great are they?
Cool guys, man.
You know, like it's so refreshing because I haven't seen them in probably, until we reconnected last year. I probably hadn't seen them since I was maybe 13 or so. Like,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's probably 30 years. Mm-hmm. Like it's like, and it's like, and they say the same about me, which is insane, but it's like, we just haven't changed a bit. Things have changed, but it's like the dynamic is still 100% as it was, except his younger brother is now older and can like hang out a little bit more. Do you know what I mean?
Which one of them's older?
So the one with the beard
Mark
is the younger one.
He's the younger one. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think I could have made that decision.
Yeah, and he looks just like his father. Like it was actually it was fucking me up.
Yeah.
But it's a skill, right? Like I understand. Like my buddy JR was here for a bit, which I didn't expect because
he was. Mm-hmm. I didn't even meet him.
Yep, he was here for a bit, and early on, he actually shout out to Jared. Jared came and brought a bottle of wine, was giving it to my wife. My dog took a hard left, spit my wife, dropped the bottle, crashed all over the fucking front porch, and JR went out there and cleaned it up. Like, and I didn't even know anything about it until it was almost too late. But, but JR, all he knows is me and Dante, and Dante wasn't there yet, so like he was just sort of walking around, and I felt bad for him. But I didn't invite him. Okay. I used to invite him. Like I invited him to the first couple. He was here, but then I think he started feeling like, man, this is changing, and which is fine. But had he stayed, it'd have been different because he'd have known everybody.
Right.
But now he doesn't know anybody, and I felt bad. I don't invite him anymore because I can understand it would be fucking awkward, But he has him and I just lost a mutual friend recently, and I think he wants to make a conscious effort to kind of connect as much as possible, which was great. I love seeing him in spite of all that. But I say all that to say this is Ian and Mark, exact opposite. Like they walk in and act like they've known everybody for 20 fucking years.
Yeah, so they chatted with everybody, man. I sat on the porch with them for probably an hour just shooting the shit. I've actually been texting a little bit back and forth with Ian this week, so. Good guys. That was fantastic fun all the way around. Food, top notch. Glad I got on the Glizzy cam twice. Jesus. I thought I was doing good. But somebody kept ratting Jane out. They're like, watch out, there's like, stop.
Yeah.
Because like somebody's like, there she is. And I had to like consciously use my brain to like, where is she?
She was like hiding under furniture sometimes.
She had a ghillie suit in the backyard. No, I'm kidding.
She was sniping people.
She did a great job. She got me on one, and then I purposely did one. So
one of my favorite ones from that was when she's videoing. Peanut is outside and she's inside. She's videoing and she's like, sit your ass down, eat that glizzy. Sit your ass down, eat that damn glizzy, bro. It's like her talking to herself, but it's like captured.
I will say, I think Matt H throttling a dog in one mouthful was
that's awesome.
Putting this Joey
silence the room.
Yes, the mystery of the week, and I brought it with me. The Piggly Wiggly socks.
Oh,
yes.
So let me tell this story as it was told to me.
Please.
And if you'd like to examine the
Piggly
Wiggly
Pig life.
socks.
I love it.
So
I love it.
I am known for an affinity for the Piggly Wiggly as somewhat as a gag, but I did grow up working there, and I wear a Piggly Wiggly hat often. Even we had a video came out. Was it 2 Fridays ago? We did a struggle meals video, and I had a Piggly Wiggly hat, and I even made a comment and said it right here.
Yep.
So we get here. It's probably closer to 1. Kelly and Sam were watching the FA Cup championship. Go Man U! They won. That's soccer. As we call it. Football. And not long after, Robert D comes up to me, and he tells me this story. So apparently they were getting there, I think, and this guy runs up to him and says, "Hey, I got something for you," and hands Robert some Piggly Wiggly socks. And Robert says something like, "I'm Robert." And he's like, "Yeah, I know." And Robert said, "Check out my shirt." And he had on a Piggly Wiggly shirt. I'm thinking, we're both very large humans, but that's about all we have in common feature-wise. Like, he has a lot of hair. I don't have any. I have facial hair. He doesn't have any.
Yeah.
Long story short, thank you to whoever.
Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm the bald guy, the tall bald guy. I am going to wear these. They're quite adorable, and they will match my.
I felt bad for Ryan.
And didn't he drive like?
He drove, I think, 14 hours came out here, hung out for like an hour and a half, and drove home.
Yeah, I never saw him that I know of.
Yeah, and I hope he seemed when he left, he seemed like everything was fine, but I hope nothing. I haven't spoken to him. His life's been busy and shit since, but I hope that he wasn't upset about anything because.
Where did he drive from?
I think it was Ohio.
Michigan.
Was it Michigan?
Oh, okay.
That's wild to stay 2 hours.
I think it was near Wisconsin. Like,
okay, that is where it could be 14 hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I felt so bad for the guy. But I mean, I hope he had. I hope he had a good time. But yeah. Shout out to Ryan.
So Joey and Krista were in Japan for 16 days, I think. And I went to the gym. I did 6 workouts in 2 weeks, which is 3 weeks what I aimed for. So worked out once at the hotel gym. Obviously they don't have all the equipment, so I did a lot of free weight stuff, but that was nice. And I'm glad they're back. They got me some really cool shirts from Japan. Minoru Suzuki is a wrestler I like, and he has a shop. Okay. It says Murder Grandpa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's him with it. But I got like 3 different shirts from there. And they picked up Mason a couple things, and yeah, it's good. I really want to go to Japan just to experience it at some point. Just got to get my shit together to do it. Let's see here. I watched a lot of wrestling. Oh, real quick. When I was in Phoenix, I got to meet up with Dan, Thunder Thief. He's doing great out there, working on commercials and stuff. He's a grip.
Is he really?
And I said, yeah, but what do you do? He's like, I light things.
Nice.
So like that day he had gone out to the desert. So what the fuck you lighting in the desert? He's like, well, I'm diffusing light out in the desert.
Right.
But he says he's, doing great financially.
That's fucking awesome.
The girl he loves.
Make some noise for that dude, man.
He's doing good. So like, I was like, hey, you want to, where you want to meet? He's like, where are you staying? And I sent him, he's like, how about this place? It's like 10 minutes. So I'm like, yeah, it's great. So we get there, we have a couple beers, sit outside, super nice night, just chilling, say our goodbyes. So where you parked? He's like, oh, I live 10 minutes away. I just walked. I'm like, oh, fuck. We're all right here together. That's awesome. So it was great to see him. So
yeah, for sure.
Probably going to be out there several more times this year. Just what the business we have going out there.
That's cool that you'd be able to hang out with him.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. I watched a ton of wrestling. There's a ton of wrestling on.
Always, I feel like.
It is. It is a lot.
Sexy Red was hanging out on.
Sexy Red was on NXT this week.
What a disaster of an act.
Did she have the Gucci ice cream on her face?
I have no idea.
She has an ice cream cone on her face.
She's the young lady who had coined the infamous lyric. Like you're familiar with great writing throughout history.
I am. Shakespeare.
Beware, there was the Ides of March.
Oh yeah.
It maybe even like non-fictional, 4 and 7 years ago. Just great.
Sure.
Offerings to the written word.
Right.
Have you ever heard?
Coruscant Nights.
Yeah. I think it was my coochie pink, my booty hole brown. I think it's one of her.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds about
more
right.
famous ones.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So she's
prolific.
I will tell you. So she appeared on NXT, which is like the third WWE brand. It's like their farm system kind of. And I read wrestling results and rumors and whatnot, and apparently the backstage reception was great, and they're going to use her relatively often, is what they said. So until she probably said something she shouldn't say, and they're like,
I tell you what, I think the wrestling mat, the ring, as it were, great place for her.
Yeah. We'll see if she'll take a bump or not, right? But there's a AEW had a pay-per-view this weekend, and my only complaint, it was so long. Started at 7 and ended at 12:30. That's 5.5. That's 11 matches. That's a lot. And I managed to stay up for all of it. Not everybody did. Some people crashed out, but
I just want
fun.
I just want to say one more thing about Sexy Red.
Please.
I'm a guy who still is hanging on to what is remaining of drill music. And I can tell you that most of those gentlemen are not wordsmiths either. For you to make me look at the fucking stereo speaker with a side eye, you've got to have some really lowbrow shit. I grew up in the 3-6 area. I grew up in the great.
Yeah, I rob. Yeah, I steal. Yeah, I put your body in a field. You mean like that lyrical genius?
Yeah, great googly moogly.
That thing is juicy.
So I'm not foreign to this.
Sure.
Sort of thing. But for you to say something to me about come the fuck on.
You're just stating facts, man.
Yeah, that's true.
You're just stating facts.
Actually, there's been some discrepancy about that, but no video that leaked. But no matter.
Oh well, what are you gonna do?
Start an OnlyFans.
More of an off gray.
I'm sure she may. Oh God. Oh, like overcooked roast beef.
Hey.
So yeah, AEW had the pay-per-view, and they had some really banger matches on there, and actually on Saturday at 1 o'clock, WWE had their King of the Ring. It used to be the King of the Ring. Now it's the King and Queen of the Ring because they do women's as well. Finals. They did it in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
They have a deal to go over. I probably discussed it.
Yeah,
like twice a year they go over there. Really great matches. They put on a
really great money, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like a multi-billion-dollar deal. They put on 5 or 6 matches, and they were great. They were fantastic matches. Funny. I watch wrestling when I go over to Joey's and Krista's. They're charmed to let me watch it when we work out. And Krista said she called it the Thing of the Ring tournament, so just kind of ran with it. It's the Thing of the Ring instead of the King of the Ring.
There you go.
Do you guys know what you call a celebrity that eats cereal?
Tell me.
Reese with her spoon. Can I get a honk for that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, that's good. Movies on the plane. The segment I enjoy.
Yep.
Okay.
I watched some really good movies and some really bad movies.
Let's hear it.
So let's start with really just one that was bad. I started with a classic, Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh.
I hadn't watched that in a long time. It's just as ridiculous as you remember. Just a fun, silly movie.
Ever. I was a kid. My dad watched it.
Yeah, my dad liked that. And what was the other one my dad's always...
My dad loved Clint Eastwood with like an
every
orangutan.
Which way, what I was about to say. My dad's always talked about...
Yeah, my dad
I've never
loved
actually
that
watched
shit. My dad
used to
loved
talk
that
about
shit.
that all the time.
Clint Eastwood and an ape? What could be better?
They're like truck drivers or something. Yeah. And, you're all...
You know, I love an ape.
Family.
Together strong. I was just, because the Apes movie is back in kind of vogue now. So I've been like reminiscing and telling stories about them throughout history, like with, how close I am to that franchise. And one of my favorite things that it doesn't happen anymore, but like, my kids used to always want to go out somewhere. They want to go out to eat. They want to go out to the movies. But like, we've never really had the money for that shit. So like, our money has all been spent in keeping them in blue ribbon schools and that type of shit. So we're kind of like, no, we're having leftovers again tonight. And sorry, like that's the penance. You can cry to your therapist about it in a number of years. Just sit tight.
When you can afford a therapist.
So, one of the things you used to like be like Friday night, be like, what do you guys want to do? And then like, can we go out? Can we get ice cream? Can we go to this? Can we go to that? And I would just go like this. And then I would like take my little curled up hand and like brush their temple. And I go, home, family. It used to piss them off.
That is funny.
That was one. And my other thing that I used to do that pissed them off all the time is around like the end of August, beginning of September, when they would start coming down, 10 o'clock in the morning or what have you, I would start making my breakfast. And while I would do so, I would go, and then as we got a little bit closer to the beginning of September, I would, it's the most wonderful time. And then as like the week before school started, it's the most wonderful time. It's so fucking irritating.
Oh, God.
Anyway, that's great, man. That's great. I watched. You may not be aware. Jason Statham has a new movie. Had a new movie.
Is it The Beekeeper?
It is The Beekeeper.
I am aware.
Let me tell you.
Did you read that book? Movies that Bobby will never see.
Yeah. This. You should put this one on the list.
Oh, God.
Have you ever seen a Jason Statham movie that wasn't a part of a franchise?
Lock, Stock, and Snatch.
Okay. Have you ever seen one of his B movies that's like a Netflix? Okay. Yeah. This was. It was just silly. I'll be honest with you. I dozed off and didn't see like the last 10 minutes. And funny enough, I think Sam and Cody had both watched it on the plane also.
Yes.
I'm like, what happened at the end? They're telling me, I'm like, oh, you mean the president of the United States is by? It's kind of horrifying at the beginning. So Felicia Rashad, Cosby's wife from the Cosby Show.
Oh, Claire
Huxtable.
What a lady. I always wish she was my mom. So for years.
She's lives at this farmhouse and she rents her barn to Jason Statham, who is legitimately a beekeeper and does honey and all that stuff. But beekeeper's also code for like the baddest secret agent motherfuckers in the world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's a beekeeper. So she basically gets, and this shit really happens, call somebody to something's wrong with her computer, and next thing you know, they've wiped out all these accounts, including like this couple million that's in some trust for some charity. Oh, yeah? Well, she ends up killing herself because she's like, and then
makes the beekeeper mad.
Well, her daughter's a cop, of course, and she comes in, and Jason Statham's founder is like, why were you in my mom's house? And this is manhunt and all this shit. And of course, they go to, and it's not people in another country doing this scamming. It's this company in some ivory tower. Turns out like the president's son is the one running it or something. It's a mess.
But, no doubt.
Yeah.
I love
great airplane fodder.
I love when I talk to people that often watch movies on airplanes and they get to talking about the movie. And I'm not going to watch. So I'm like, well, how was the ending? And they're like, plane landed. I lost the last 10 minutes. Yeah. It's like I hear it all the time.
Well, it's like on the Beekeeper. I'm like, I hope this next plane has a TV. You know, Delta's actually gotten pretty. Almost all their stuff has TVs now. I watched 2 really, really good movies. So the first one, and it's kind of probably going to be unbelievable on 2 fronts, Bobby. It's on Netflix.
Okay,
and it has Adam Sandler in it.
That is unbelievable.
It came out. I think it came out in 2022. It's called Hustle. He is a basketball scout for the Sixers, I believe.
I remember this. I didn't see it.
He ends up, he's going to look at this hot shit kid that plays in Spain, and
because this was he was on that Netflix run of like Gem or whatever it was,
Uncut Gems. Yeah. So, he goes to Spain or some shit to try to find some hotshot kid, and either the kid's not playing that, or he ends up just going like he just wants to go shoot some hoops, and he goes to just a playground, and there's this like 7-foot tall guy stroking threes, and long story short, he brings him to the States, and things don't go the way they wanted, but he ends up getting drafted, and it ends up being a really cool story, but nice. It's very well worth a watch. I know it's hard to see, the guy that's drunk in the pool looking at nudie magazines from Billy Madison take as a serious actor, but like that Uncut Gems. Have you ever seen that, Chucky O?
Yeah. It was good.
It's fucking great. There's so much tension in that movie. It's like,
it was good.
There's been a track of Adam Sandler really cutting his teeth on
something serious
drama.
Did you see Reign Over Me? I think it was called. Based off of the Who record. It was 9/11 movie.
Yeah, that was one of the.
It was good.
That was really good. It was one of his. I think that was his first like serious turn.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. And I'm glad that Netflix, signs these guys on to do this, and they're not like, all right, we need Billy Madison 3, 4, and 5 over the next.
Well, hang on to your horses because it might be in the notes.
Well, I do know that we are getting a Happy Gilmore.
Oh, that's not even what's in the notes, but
they're working on a Happy Gilmore sequel, which you still got. Obviously, Adam Sandler. You still got Shooter. Chubbs died, but Chubbs died in real life too, so that's fine.
We can cover the one too. Where they're doing, the Axel Foley movie, the Beverly Hills. Did you see the trailer for that?
I did not. I've seen those, but nothing I'm passionate about.
Oh, so I love the first 2. The third one, I could fucking get on the fastest ticket out of here.
Seems like to be most third movies piss you off.
Yeah, that's true. But those first 2 Beverly Hills Cop movies are fucking amazing.
I haven't seen them so long.
But this one. Just watching the trailer, I was like, like it was kind of hard to see Axel. Like Eddie Murphy is kind of like Axel was kind of a version of Eddie Murphy in his day
at the time.
Like he wasn't really acting kind of thing.
And now Eddie Murphy's a different dude.
Yeah.
And I see that dude showing up and not the Axel character. I see Axel from time to time in the trailer.
Sure.
But he does like these characters now that are like always so worried. They're always so worried, like, oh, who's going to take the thing and then put the thing in the thing and then put the thing, I don't want to, like that type of shit that Eddie Murphy does now. That's not Axel.
Right.
Axel's always got a plan. He's always slick talking his way out of something. Like Axel's on it. He's not Eddie Murphy in like
Eddie Murphy,
in like these newer movies where he's like this thing's like this anxiety act, which I found a bit unsightly.
I think there's a slot of actors who don't really act. They're just a character themselves, and sometimes they just lean into being themselves on camera, and then when it really comes down to I need someone different, like
that's fair.
It's a stretch for
you
them.
mean like Rock the Dwayne Johnson?
Yeah.
Anyways, Adam Sandler movie was good. So the best movie I watched, and I remember when it came out, it seemed interesting, but it's phenomenal. It's called American Fiction. It's got It's the guy who plays Gordon in the new Batman movie, the black guy.
Yeah. He was in The Wire too, or HBO show. He was in an HBO show. I can't remember which one it was.
So the premise of this is he writes books, but they're very like he has a fan crowd, but they're not like bestsellers. You know, it's very like I guess character driven, very dialogue heavy books. And there's a woman that's put out how do I say this? A story, a novel that is basically written in Ebonics, right? It's written as a street character from the street. So he jokingly writes a book from that same kind of perspective. And it becomes a bestseller.
Oh, no shit.
He sells a movie rights. And then he gets put on this like panel, it's like some literary... He thinks they're calling to like tell him he's nominated for an award, and they're calling to tell him he's been chosen to be on the selection committee.
No shit.
And then his book that he didn't write, I'll leave it at that. It's fucking great.
What's it on?
Airplanes. That's where I watch it. I don't know if it's actually out on full streaming. It may be. I don't know. A lot of times, like I don't think The Beekeeper is on streaming anywhere yet, but you know that movie's on the airplanes.
Right. Are cranking out like a few weeks after, like what was it, Civil War? Like I saw that in theaters, and it's streaming now. And that's
what was
like a month or two.
So what was Civil War?
Civil War was like a Civil War.
It was like a U.S. Civil War is happening. It's kind of
it's an A24. It's like in Texas. Like they show like a lot of California.
California, Texas.
Yeah. Kirsten Dunst is in it.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's already out on streaming.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Right.
I think
that's exactly what I thought. I was like,
I think now I gotta see that. I think they're just giving
Well, how was it?
Yeah.
Was it a fun romp? No,
it didn't like.
Was it not enough to really?
It was more of a like love letter to journalism than it was any kind of commentary about where we were. It didn't. It left a lot of questions, and it seemed like it was made for a very small section. Like if you're a journalist, you probably love it. If you're a filmmaker, maybe you love it.
Right.
But I think for your average American in the political climate we're in, we're like, what the fuck?
Right.
Gotcha. Beautiful, like. They made a really convincing environment, but
A24 does a great job.
Yeah,
with that,
yep. They said for a premise that Civil War in the United States, they said a lot of nothing about
why
and I can get. Like,
I
why
think he's saying like figuratively about perhaps how bipartisan we have become.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this is topical. Oh, maybe there's a lesson for us. Like, oh, maybe I can see a different perspective. No. That's didn't go very surface deep. But speaking of things that like surprised me that are already on streaming, so there's this Blue Angels movie.
I want to see that. I saw the preview for it.
So you saw a preview for it. I've seen the poster in theaters, and I was like, "Oh yeah, honey, let's go see that." It's on Amazon. Like it dropped the same day as it did in the theater, and that boggles me because I'm like, it's a if you grew up in the late 80s, 90s, like you're gonna get the feels on this. I'm a little frustrated because like I would have paid to see that on the big screen.
How was it?
Here. It was. If you grew up in the late 80s, 90s, it was cool.
Nice.
It was an insight that you hadn't got before.
It's based on a true story?
Yeah. I mean, it's the documentary. It's the actual.
Oh, it's a documentary.
Yeah, it's a documentary of an entire season, and like there's the light military propaganda of the Blue Angels, but it's definitely pulls behind the curtain. And if you were interested,
I'm on it.
Watch it. I would have, I don't know, get on the dollar movies, but like right now, I was like, man, I'd like to see that in the theater for the sound and the visuals and everything, because it's beautiful camera work and awesome shots. I watched on the couch and I was like, a great time, but I'm like, man, I kind of wish they didn't have it on streaming and I would have just gone straight to the theater.
Right. Wow.
So American Fiction, there's some very heartfelt stuff. His mom ends up with dementia, and somebody else. I will say there is an actress in that's in the trailers that isn't in the movie very long at all. Like,
really?
Yeah, something tragic happens like that. I'm like, whoa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's a couple like really like, I mean, it kind of made me tear up a couple times, some of the stuff. So it's, you know, it's kind of hits all the notes. I think you would enjoy it, Bobby.
Nice. American fiction.
Read some comics. The Skybound company, which actually Kirkman owns. I didn't know that till I looked into it. Robert Kirkman.
Oh, okay. I was like Costco.
Yeah, Kirkland. It's a Kirkland brand of comic. It just says Kirkland on the front.
Yeah.
So I actually brought it over. I bought the trade for the Transformers story.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see what you think. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it.
Yeah.
Because like I was a little, when I read the write up of what it was becoming, I was a little concerned, only because I don't have a whole lot of interest in turning over the same soil. Do you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't mean that there's not a good way to do it.
Yeah, and this is. I think this is it's very unique.
But I like new garden beds.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't know that I do.
Yeah.
And then actually digitally, I read the Cobra Commander trade and the Duke trade.
Damn, you little bookworm, dude.
Yeah, and it's. I rip right through these things, man. I'm almost
7-foot bookworm.
There you go. Pull me out of the dirt and go fishing, right? So I've enjoyed those. There's apparently a Destro book coming out. And it seems like this is maybe how they're doing these little 5-issue arcs.
I've heard some controversy about G.I. Joe comics recently.
Really?
Yeah, that IDW didn't finish their story or something. Shout out to Jay. He was telling me about it, but so they're like finishing it in a Kickstarter or something. Like,
so
let me see if I can find.
That's the way I understand.
Maybe I've got it fucked up. It's possible.
Well, there is a Kickstarter right now. It's hardcover volumes of all the Marvel comics, and it's like, I didn't look at the price. I heard somebody say it's $100 shipping. I'm like, ugh.
So this is the message I got. Dude, how obnoxiously wide are these new Skybound G.I. Joe comics compendiums going to be? IDW's half attempt made it to 8 volumes and only got about halfway through the series. The new Kickstarter from Skybound is only 4 editions for the entire run. That means where IDW would have likely had around 16 volumes to complete the run, each volume in the Skybound set will be 4 times as wide, probably nearly unreadable, or very prone to splitting and breaking bindings. That's true.
I'm looking this Kickstarter up real quick.
There will be a softcover cover set to be released at retail, so at least there's that. I still wish IDW had finished their hardcover set. Yeah, so IDW never finished their hardcover set, and now this new set is starting, but it's going to be twice the size. So like, and I think they get the rights to some of that IDW shit because of the switchover of who owns the actual property.
Okay.
So like, if you had like a book volume set that was all the same size, same height, everything, and then somebody else takes it over and now it looks all fucking different, you either got to start over or mix and match. And starting over may not be the right call if the books are fucking, as he predicts, unreadable, because that is possible. There was these Top Cow, Witchblade, and Darkness Companion, and they split as soon as you open because they were just so fucking, they were like phone books.
So this is what this is. It says, for the first time ever, Skybound, Hasbro, and Image proudly present the definitive hardcover compendiums of the original G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero comic series, which leads me to believe it's the Marvel series. These collections include every issue of the original 82 series, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, G.I. Joe Special Missions, G.I. Joe and the Transformers, and the long out of print G.I. Joe Order of Battle and G.I. Joe Special No. 1. So it sounds like it's just the old Marvel stuff.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know. Books like this are really pretty to sit on the shelf, but they're so hard to read.
Agreed.
Like I have those hardbacks of all the Hellboy stuff, and it's like, I feel like I need a lectern.
You're deciphering some code.
I'll give you another example. I have that G.I. Joe. Basically it's the Art of G.I. Joe book. It's a ton of.
I think I have that.
It's a Kickstarter they did recently.
Maybe I don't.
And then let me find it here. Anyways, it's so big. Like I thought about building because it's a great display piece, but it's like, where do I put it? So I thought about building like a Cobra lectern and like putting it on it. The guy was actually at NJCC this past show. A guy who put it together. I talked to him a bit, and he actually had a lectern on like to show.
Oh, no kidding!
It's just so big, but it's like every single piece of art that was used on the toys, all the boxes, it comes with a bunch of prints. It was really cool. But to that point, these giant books, they are a bit of a chore to get through. let's see what else. Oh, Mom. I kind of just did it to see, but I ordered Yeezy Pods, the $20 Yeezy shoes, and I brought them over here, and boy, they look great on Bobby. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you. $20. You know, we were talking earlier. It's like those were $200 originally. Why? That's not $200.
No.
You know, maybe $50, like you said, Chucky O. But I couldn't imagine $200. But to his credit, like you said, they refunded $180 to everybody. Watched a little bit of Fallout. We're trying to get through that.
How is it?
I'm enjoying
Everybody
it.
seems to love it.
Yeah, it's really good. It's just Kelly's watching Peaky Blinders.
Oh, how's she liking that?
She's fucking loving it. And
a lot of people love it.
The little bit I'm sitting in, like, is it Cillian Murphy or Cillian Murphy? Is it Cillian? You know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The dude from Oppenheimer, right?
Yeah, the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll just, pop in and just see, and like, they're always smoking cigarettes, but like, dude has a cue. Like every time he has a cigarette, he moves it back and forth on his lips a little bit. Every fucking time. Because I saw it once. I'm like, does he do that every time? Mm-hmm. So Tom Hardy's in that. She says he's great. Adrian Brody's in it, and I didn't realize that.
He's great.
He is.
Yeah. He would have made a great Joker.
He would have.
Oh, wow.
If I show you a picture of my dad from like probably the 70s, early 80s, they look a lot alike.
Really?
My dad doesn't have the schnoz, but like color of their eyes and everything. Put a beard on him. He looked just like my dad. Let's see. I think that's it. I did want to talk to you about, and I don't know when this all comes out, but you always do a sit down.
Yeah,
Saturday.
so timely. So that's coming out Saturday, and then this will come out on Patreon Monday.
Great.
And Thursday.
So one of the points I brought up was brand identity. That these companies.
I think it was the best point made that day.
Well, I have a little bit more for it. Bobby, let's say you need to buy.
Just to give the people.
Oh, yeah, please do.
So we had a sit down Saturday roundtable discussion on what do we think of this next generation of third party, whether it be Metagate or TransArts or Wonderful Trans or Deformation Space, all that kind of stuff. And actually, I shot down Deformation Space in the video, and I regret that. I should have included them in this bracket. But all that sort of stuff, do we view it the same? Does it have the same staying power? Is it going to make as much of an impact? Blah, 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 blah.
And, I'll be honest with you. I'm a step away from all that now.
Right.
I've never even heard, or maybe it's I see this stuff and I don't even pay attention to the company. If it's not Fans Toys X Transbots, New
MMC.
Age Magic Square MMC, it's like it's Joe Blow's Transformers because they don't care. And I thought of a good analogy. So let's say I buy a new toaster oven on Amazon, and me and you were having this conversation like, oh, where'd you get it? I was like, oh, I got it on Amazon. Or let's say you need to buy some paintbrushes and you go to Amazon. I'm like, oh man, those are nice brushes. Oh, I got them on Amazon.
Yeah, it's not about the brand of the brush.
Because I don't know if you know this, most of the time when you go on Amazon, it's like XYZ778 pudding pops or just it's some crazy name.
Right.
The reason they do that is you have to have a trademark registered name, and if they wanted to do Bobby's Bargain Basement, somebody owns that.
Right.
But if they just do like XYZ78478Z, nobody's got to have that.
Right.
So they don't care about their brand identity either.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's the marketplace.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They want to be able to sell their stuff at Show Z, at Robot Kingdom, and then here in distributor in the States. They want to sell it at Agabus and TF Source and BBTS and some of those other assholes out there we won't talk about. But I think that's where it is. The marketplace is what's important. If they can get the product to the consumer, they know that the brand doesn't really. Nobody fucking cares unless you're one of those brands.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I had that thought. I thought that was interesting. But,
yeah.
I guess that's probably it for me.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter, and I think it also has to do with the consumption, right? Like if I'm buying a set of paintbrushes, I may not care about the brand,
right?
But if I'm buying, a 72-inch TV,
sure,
maybe I care about the brand. So like that's an interesting component to it too. All of it, there's a big conversation there somewhere, of ironing it out.
I think somebody mentioned that like Dream Trans, whatever the name of these companies are, they'll probably have that one next week.
Yeah.
They're producing 3,000 pieces, right?
Right.
And that may be why, like, well, if we make an Optimus Prime, we can probably sell 10,000 pieces because it's Optimus Prime.
Right.
If we make a Swerve, probably not, or some obscure, version of something. So,
right. And I think a lot of people don't realize that the key to some of that like mold reusage, right? Is like you might need to sell. It seems like to me the for most companies the minimum that you need to sell to just break even is 1,000 units.
Yeah.
So like if you sell, you might not be able to sell 2,000 swerves.
Yeah.
But you might be able to sell 1,000 gears and 1,000 swerves, or 1,500 gears and 500 swerves, and that's how they're kind of approaching.
And sometimes the case,
they're just reason. Read me,
I'll give you an example. Like when Keith did the Junkions. The case assortment was the lead guy whose name Rhett Gar, and then one of the other jabronis.
Yeah.
That you had to buy it like that.
Yeah.
That's when I was kind of toying with doing some wholesale stuff.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do that. But I don't know, just an interesting way to look at it.
For sure. Let me crack into my Norwegian taste. Because I did do some shit. So there's a question I got to ask you that somebody wrote in a comment somewhere, and I think I've transferred it over the best. I'm not sure if I have. I'll get to that last, though. I went and saw the movie If. In the theater. I went and took the kids and everything, and it was, I think it was quite good. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's like a 12 out of 10 for most people.
Yeah.
That Krasinski guy.
So I'm going to tell you what my issues were with it, without trying to spoil it. First of all, the movie is not about imaginary friends. It's not about childhood imaginations. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about grief and loss. So walk into this movie prepared for a different emotional experience than you may have anticipated.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to talk about my issues for just a second, without trying to spoil it. The father, who is played by the guy who plays arguably the main protagonist, for lack of a better term, on The American Office. He would be like the good leader, like the good guy. He would be the guy you're rooting
for. Jim on The Office?
Jim.
Well, that's John Krasinski who produced this.
Yes. Okay. So he plays the father. The father is in the hospital for a long period of time.
Oh.
But it just seems like an apartment. Like he's like not being monitored. He's not hooked up to anything.
He's just on a bed that's...
and sometimes not. Sometimes walking around. Sometimes he's hiding in a closet.
Yeah.
Like to play games. Like that's just not how the medical system works. Yeah. And I couldn't detach myself from that.
Okay.
And then aside from that, there's a lot of really strong pieces and components to this thing. And they're all there, but they could have been tied together and really drilled home, in my opinion, in a much better way. For those that have seen it, and without spoilers, they could have tied the mother into it and made it a really amazing movie, how they kind of explain the imaginary friends and all that element. But as a result, it ended up being really good. They just didn't flesh out some of the content, some of the concepts, one of which, like the adults can't see the imaginary friends, but they can be reminded of them. But sometimes it seems like they can be reminded of them in spirit, and sometimes it seems like they can be reminded of them, like physically see them in the room. And it's just like one of these little concepts that they could have like ironed out a bit more. Yeah. But it is a big movie. Like it is a it's
production.
And it's trying to say big things, so to speak. And it's over the top. It's over the top, like dramatically, emotionally, it's over the top. But I think it's purposefully meant to be over the top. I think that is part of the movie. And I do think there is like this fantastic element to it that does remind me of, like, not in the same way, but it takes some time to breathe. So, like, sometimes, like, without context, a character will talk about how she danced when she was younger, and a song will come on, a classical piece, and she'll just do this, like, dance for a moment, you know, and it takes its time showing it. But in that way, there is something big and imaginative in that regard, and sort of otherworldly, where it does feel like it's not in the pocket the same way, But it does feel like, man, like they were really trying to make this like the Willy Wonka of this generation, or the, you know what I mean, one of those for this generation.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure it's successful in that way, but it's trying.
I don't know. John Krasinski, he's building franchises now with The Quiet Place, and wouldn't surprise me. This is a
franchise opportunity. Well,
2-3 movies.
Did they leave it open at the end where there could be more? Or pretty much
I don't think so. I think it's
one and done.
I think so. I don't think it gains anything from anything more.
They said this was the worst Memorial box, COVID notwithstanding, since like 2019.
Yeah,
Furiosa, 10. But Furiosa and If both did about 30 million at the box office.
Together, or
no, each. That's what I read.
Still,
that's not a lot.
Still, it's terrible.
Yeah, it used to be like
$300 million.
Well,
opening
pre-COVID, it was basically like if you didn't do 100 million opening weekend, you're done.
Yeah, I think now like so much relies on the international market that domestic box office doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah.
Of course, who knows if they would allow them to show that in China, because it's
right.
Can't have imaginary friends. You can only have 1.5 children.
Right. Well, maybe that's all the more reason to have imaginary ones.
Yeah. How does that work? Do you and your neighbors share a kid? Is that how?
Yeah, I don't know. Jinx. I finished Jinx season 2 on HBO. And it was good. So, are you familiar with Jinx season 1?
Mm-mm.
Long story short, is the story of New York real estate mogul Robert Durst, who was accused of murdering 3 people, or suspected at least of murdering 3 people. One he was actually charged with and beat it. But this is a multi-billionaire.
Yeah,
all the resources in the world. Well, in Jinx season 1, they interview him and they basically catch him.
Oh.
And he's like, long story, I might as well just tell it. So, on one of the bodies, there was a note with an address on it, Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And then they found a letter that he wrote to someone in Beverly Hills, and the fucking handwriting is identical.
Yeah.
And it's misspelled the same way.
Oh.
And they even say to him at one point, like, can you tell who wrote which one you wrote? And he's like, I cannot. It's like that. So he's like, can I take a break or whatever? Can I do something, whatever? So he goes.
Call my lawyer.
So he goes to the bathroom, but he's still mic'd up.
Oh shit!
And he's like looking at himself in the mirror, and he goes, "They know. Killed them all, of course." Oh. And the show ends, right? So season 2 is one of the places. I think it's Los Angeles. They reopen the cases and they prosecute him. Anyway, you would think it would be a lot easier than it actually was to get some sort of verdict, but they prosecute him. They eventually find him. The jury finds him. He perjures himself like a million fucking times. It's a nightmare for him.
Yeah.
He makes the huge mistake of taking the stand.
Sure.
And they just eat him alive. Yeah. And anyway, so he gets sentenced to jail, dies in jail shortly thereafter, and basically his ex or his wife, who was like a business arrangement, gets everything, and it's like he still fucking won. It's like it's so fucking disgusting. It like just leaves you angry in your core.
Yeah,
but not as angry as the next documentary that I watched. Which was Alex Jones, or The People versus Alex Jones.
Oh, jeez.
Oh.
So this is a documentary about the lawsuits that Alex Jones has faced in regards to his crisis actors, denial of Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
And what a disgusting fucking human being.
Oh, Alex Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just utterly despicable, repulsive human being. Like, I've never wanted to jump, not since the days of Joffrey from Game of Thrones have I wanted to jump through the screen and put 2 hands so firmly around somebody's throat as Alex Jones. Anyway, it's an interesting enough documentary though, because they do put him on. He takes the stand as well. Obviously, every time that motherfucker opens his mouth, it's a lie. Mm-hmm. He can't help himself.
Yeah,
it's one of two things. It's a lie or a plug.
Does he believe that is he telling the truth? Do you think? Do you think it's
so he knows
from his point of view are the Jedi evil? I mean,
yeah. So his thing is, his argument is, long story with these. Don't get distracted, Chucky O. The story is the story is in short is that his defense of it was all money. It was all money. He did one video where there was one child's father who was like smiling and kind of laughing before he took the microphone and started talking about his kid.
Yeah.
And he pinpointed that as like, what is that? That looks like acting to me. That looks like a person getting into the role of. So he took that and he exploited it. And that video got him a ton of fucking views. Yeah. So his team looked at the algorithms and were like,
let's do more.
We need more Sandy Hook is a lie videos. Oh, man. And he was the one that started it. Yeah. Like they trace it back to him being like the first post about it. So there's a part of him, I think, in the beginning really doubted the authenticity of the event. Mm-hmm. But it was so quickly supported by financial gain that's what ended up becoming the priority for him. Later, when the lawsuit started happening and all that, and he realized that he was wrong, he switched gears into, well, this is about protecting freedom of speech. Yeah. This is not about, and they go into it, and like some of that stuff is interesting, like the nuance to freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. Like one thing you can't intentionally lie with and have it hurt someone. Which I found fascinating. Like I didn't know, like
libel.
Yeah, like I can't say
slander and libel, and I don't know the difference.
Yeah, and I don't either. But
I think one's written and one's spoken.
And if Robert listens to this, he'll probably be turning in his fucking office chair with my legal nonsense.
He's probably just spinning around in it right now, anyway.
Yeah, that's true. But every time he takes a stand, it's either one of two things: he's lying or he's selling something. It would be like if I said something really, really heinous and meant it, right? And they pulled me in and they were like, hey, why did you say this? And he's like, well, and I was like, well, I'll tell you why. It's right on my Patreon that you can go to. It's www.patreon.com/Bobby Skullface. And you can look at my video where I talk about why I said it. Like, it was either a plug or it was a blatant lie. Mm-hmm. And at one point, like the prosecuting attorney is just like, take a guess on how many times you've perjured yourself just so far today. So anyway, between a number, so they get him in Texas is where they initially get him for $50 million.
Yeah.
And then Connecticut is like, oh, really?
Yeah.
And Connecticut obviously is where this shit happened.
Yeah.
They jump in his ass with both feet and get him for like $900 million.
Yeah.
And so all of that is like good. You know what I mean? Like accountability, responsibility, good. You can't vitamin supplement your way out of this one.
Right.
He files bankruptcy and nothing really changes for the guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck? You know, and I'm sitting there just boiling. I put this movie on to go to bed because I had to get up to go to work the next day.
It kept you up.
Now I'm at midnight, fucking like furious.
Oh God!
But it is a worthwhile thing to watch.
What is that on Netflix?
That's on HBO.
Oh.
And I feel like there's something else that I watched also, but I can't put my finger on what it was at the moment. So maybe I'll get back to it. But I did get somebody wrote in, Chris.
Yeah.
And said, Chris, explain to me the White Rabbit and Uncle Howdy.
Uncle Howdy.
Howdy.
Okay. All right. So Bray Wyatt passed away. Bray Wyatt was a wrestler. He had a heart condition and passed away. And I think he was in his 30s. This happened last year. And there's actually a really good documentary on Peacock about him and his life and things of that nature. So he had gotten released from WWE and he did this thing called the Wyatt family. They were, Florida swamp people, essentially. He'd come out with a lantern, and he sat in a rocking chair, and it was really creepy, and I thought it was fucking fantastic. And he had a crew of guys with him. Unfortunately, one of them has passed away as well since then. So at some point in time, he and WWE didn't see eye to eye anymore. It was around the time they were really just cutting people loose. And they decided at some point in time, the rumor was he was going to come back. It was right around the same time that Triple H took over the booking for WWE, or right around the time that Vince McMahon stinks started to stir, right? About him. You're up to speed on that, Chucky? Enough to know?
Yeah.
Which, that whole thing, anyways, it's going to be a mess if it ever goes to court. But they started doing all these little teasers. There'd be QR codes everywhere. And it would be like, they're doing you guys are in the back, having your little dust up about you cheated or whatever. And in the background, there'd be a QR code on the side of one of the road crates or something. Just really nuanced stuff. Or like the screen would flicker and there'd be a QR code. Well, Bray dies, and the last match he had, it was a Mountain Dew pitch black match. They sponsored, everything was like black light and everything. And he had been teasing this other character. I need to back up. When he did come back, he did this thing called the Firefly Funhouse, where he was this, hey, everybody. And it was almost like a Mr. Rogers kind of thing. But he had this like gang of puppets, basically. It was like Mr. Rogers meets Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's very fucking out there. He had all these characters. Some of them were like, some of the characters he's played over the years. And in that, he also would be a character called the Fiend, where he would transform and wear a mask, and he was very, evil and all this. So he left, and he comes back, and there's this Uncle Howdy character that he keeps talking to. Uncle Howdy.
And that has an Exorcist reference.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know
that. It's like the demon in that the kid that Reagan sees it's either Mr. Howdy or Uncle Howdy that she contacts with the Ouija board that you never see. Supposedly it's the demon face that's like appears out of blackness and just it's not in the room or anything. Like they just cut to it here and there.
Yeah.
But she calls him Uncle Howdy or Mr. Howdy.
Okay, that's interesting. So long story short, Bray dies. It's pretty tragic. And his brother is actually employed by WWE also, and he was going to play this Uncle Howdy character as his storyline progressed if he hadn't gotten sick and quit. So the documentary I was talking about, at the end of that documentary, Bo Dallas is his brother's name. He walks up to the Uncle Howdy mask and is just like standing there with it. So right after that, they started doing the QR codes and whatnot. And the White Rabbit, there would be a White Rabbit, and it would just kind of glitch on the screen. So like, even watching wrestling Monday night, somebody's coming out to the ring, the screen just kind of statics for, it glitches and there's a QR code there. I haven't chased the rabbit, so to speak.
Sure.
They're building to something. I'm assuming they're going to kind of reform the Wyatt family with Uncle Howdy as the leader. And I know one of the guys that used to be in that group with him that'd been released, they've hired him back. So it seems like it's going to be pretty cool when they get to it. But that's probably the shortest way I could have told that story.
Okay, I'll take it. And with that, I think we can transition into notes. So we've already
no questions today.
Oh, we'll do notes first, and then
that's right.
Just give time. For some more
it's been a while.
Yeah, give time for some more questions to come in. New Beetlejuice trailer. I have seen it. I'm in.
Good.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
It's one of my wife's favorite franchises. We went to see the Broadway play several years ago, and it was I thought it was fun, but it's a very different version of the story. But it's cool they're able to get all the characters back. Winona Ryder looks great in this. I think she looks better now than she did when she was a kid.
Yeah,
probably because I'm an old crusty man now.
Yeah.
It's cool that they've got so many of the original cast back in it. So I'm looking forward to that.
And then there was the Axel Foley thing, which you've already kind of talked about. I don't think we need to harp any more on that. Recently, we were just on here talking about how it seems like that Lord of the Rings show was done.
Yeah.
And then they, literally the next day, they announced that it's coming back in 2026.
Yeah.
So
nice.
I'm not sure
if to save up that rocket money from Blue Origin to be able to pay for it.
So I'm not sure if that's enough. the amount of time between seasons, like if they're going to be able to garner attention. But supposedly, it's going to be called. It's a movie called The Hunt for Gollum, and it's not the same thing, I guess, with Peter Jackson and Andy Serkis attached to it.
So they're just going to tell a different story in universe.
Yeah. So what will it be about? The story will be about the new Lord of the Rings. Explores storylines yet to be told. That can mean many things, but we certainly have a few ideas of what the Lord of the Rings takes. So it's going to be some other shit that's, I guess, they came up with themselves. So I don't know. I guess the show is ending, but they're going to do something else. They're not going to go back to the show. And I would have liked to have seen what their plans were with that show.
They had an AEW tie-in with the Game of Thrones series last night.
Did they really?
There's a guy that wrestles. His name's Kill Switch, and he kind of looks like a dragon. He wears a mask, and he wrestled somebody, and they put the graphic on the screen. It was pretty low energy, to be honest. But
yeah. I don't know. I do want to. We'll skip that for a second because I want to watch that trailer before I comment on it. There's some Pixar news. Pixar cuts about 175 jobs as part of a wider Disney effort. And let's see if I can. And I can't read it because it costs money to read.
Paywall.
But Bob Iger is seeking ways to reduce costs as part of the plan to eliminate $7.5 billion in annual expenses. So I mean, like they're doing this all across the board. Like everybody's getting cut. They're reducing. I just read somewhere recently they're reducing the planned 4 Marvel shows a year. They're cutting that in half.
Two shows. It's supposed to be 2 Star Wars shows, 2 Marvel shows, and 2 movies from each one. That's what they're aiming to do.
And I think they should probably do less.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just don't think at least at the level of quality it's at right now that it can sustain itself.
And you wonder, like with the Pixar piece, so they make Pixar Disney movies, and then they make Disney movies that are animated very similarly.
Yeah,
I wonder if they just got rid of some duplication of jobs there.
Yeah, like redundancies.
We don't need all you people to draw pictures. See, these guys over in Singapore, they'll do it for a quarter an hour of what you do. So
yeah, that's probably true. And the other thing that I wanted to touch on briefly was the 100 best albums from Apple. Have you followed this at all?
I don't speak Apple.
So it was across all genres. It's on Apple Music. So like if you go to your favorite artist or whatever, you would see it and their front thing, like they made the list of the 100 best albums.
Is 86 Transformers soundtrack on there?
I doubt it.
That's a miss.
But I'm not sure how I feel about the list. One of the rules was you can't be on the list twice. So you can only have one album on the list.
Okay.
Which I'm theoretically not mad about. But I'm trying to see if I could find just the
top 10 maybe.
Yeah.
Only?
Let's see here.
Those Rolling Stone lists we look at every once in a while, I never seem to appreciate things the same way those people that are judging this do. If that makes sense.
So like here, we'll start with 20. Number 20 is Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. 19 is The Chronic by Dr. Dre. 1989 is Taylor's Version by Taylor Swift. 17 is What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. That probably is his best album, to be fair. 16 is Blue, Joni Mitchell. 15 is 21, Adele. 14 is Highway 61 Revisited. That's Bob Dylan. 13 is The Blueprint by Hove. 12 is OK Computer by Radiohead.
I like it better the other way. Radiohead. Yeah.
11 is Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. That is easily their best album.
Absolutely.
For those that don't know the story of Rumors, they were all fucking each other and cheating on each other at the same time, and also writing music for each other to sing. So that album has people singing songs from other people's perspective, shitting on themselves live on record.
Nice.
And they knew it. And they still had to get up there and just sing how much of a dirtbag they were or whatever. It's a fantastic album. But I did want to look at the Apple Top 10.
Oh, was that not?
That was 20 through 11. Apple
piecemealing it out.
Album. Yeah, they did it week by week.
Okay.
And I just went, I know certain ones are in there. Album reveals top 10 albums of all time. Okay, so let's hope this
is this based on streams or just some opinions?
I think opinions.
Okay.
So 10 is Lemonade by Beyonce.
Really?
Yep.
That's interesting.
Which I don't even think is her best, honestly, but that's okay. 9 is Nevermind by Nirvana.
That's a good album.
8 is Back to Black by Amy Winehouse. It's a great album. I don't know if it's top 10 album of all time, but it's a great fucking album. 7 is Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. I know that's a very well-regarded album. I think
I like Damn better.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I like. I think the only one I like is that that what you want. Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to sing that song, to be fair.
Try it again.
6 is a song. I mean, due to the lyrics. 6 is Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. 5 is Blonde by Frank Ocean. That seems high to me. I'm okay with the album being on top 100. Just seems high on the list. 4 is Purple Rain by Prince and the Revolution. I'm good with that. 3 is Abbey Road by the Beatles. I'm okay with that. 2 is Thriller by Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And 1...
Here we go.
Is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
What?
No.
Get the fuck out of here.
I think I saw something about that. I've heard her name a couple of times the past couple of weeks. So
I'm just like, man, what in the fuck? A good album, great album. But it's not better than the Prince album. It's not better than Purple Rain. It's not better than Thriller. It's not better than a lot of the albums that we read just now on that list from top 20 down.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you. Here's another thing. And I'm not the biggest Chia West Coast kind of guy. Doggy Style deserves to be higher than The Chronic, and I'll die on that hill.
I respect your opinion. I disagree. Where is Doggy Style on the list?
I don't know, but it's not in the top. I would imagine, but it's not in the top 20. I bet you don't like more songs on Chronic than you like on Doggy Style. I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, probably.
Let's go one for one.
Okay.
All right. You want me to start?
Sure.
Okay. Gin and Juice.
G thing.
Okay. What's my name?
Little Ghetto Boy.
Okay. Shiznit.
Bitches Ain't Shit.
Okay. Okay. It Ain't No Fun.
Well, I don't think I can say the name, but the one about the riots.
Yeah. Okay. Serial Killer.
Oh, that's a good one too. Let Me Ride.
Murder Was a Case.
Is that on that album?
Yeah, the original version.
Because that was on a separate album.
There was a remix out. There was a soundtrack album that included the remix.
So the original.
The Doggy Style had Murder Was the Case, the original. Then they did a remix for the soundtrack album that was like the
because Murder Was the Case was that, and it had Natural Born Killers on it.
Yeah, that was on the soundtrack album.
The interlude where he's fucking somebody in the doctor's office.
See, but now we're.
I know.
Honestly, I could go on Lottie Dottie. Like,
there's a lot of good songs on there.
Yeah, like because I think
I guess maybe objectively you're right, but like my memory, I have. Those albums came out like I think a year apart.
Yeah,
they were pretty quick to get Snoop's album out.
That's part of the reason why I made it so impactful. They were just back to back.
Yeah. So I have such memories attached to that Dre album because it was such a game changer.
So I agree with you. So that's where I stand. I think that you can make the argument that The Chronic is the more impactful record.
Yeah,
but that Doggy Style is the better record.
Oh, and then the song Chronic. Make my bud the chronic.
Yeah, and I
wants to get fucked up.
And I have like
listen, Doggy Style is a great album.
G's and Hustlers, Pump.
Yeah.
Like it's almost every song.
Yeah.
Like
I think they're both incredible albums. Actually, I might put Doggy Style on this afternoon while I'm working.
It's a goodie. But they're all, I think that Doggy Style is better than Miseducation Lauryn Hill.
I was gonna look it up and see where it landed on here.
And then there's one trailer I want to watch before I talk about it. Yeah, that looks great.
Looks great. Yeah. I mean, I think I can say my favorite Batman story of all time is The Dark Knight Returns.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely my favorite piece of animated Batman is the 2-part animation of that. I mean, it's probably if I make a list of animated and non-animated Batman movies, it's probably in my top 3 or 4.
Yeah,
it's fucking fantastic.
A lot of his I mean, like, so Dark Knight Returns and Year One are probably in my top 5.
Also,
and I mean, Sin City, like the books are fantastic. 300 is fantastic. Yep. Ronin is fantastic. The dude's body of work is incredible.
I will say his art, and he says that Stanley says, you're not quite ready. His art it's a very unique art style. Yeah. It's simplified to an extent, and they're even talking about it in there. And, I think some of his later stuff is a lot sloppier, and he is getting up there. I don't know how much.
But there's also been rumors of health and stuff like that, know, so
he may just lay out the line work. And
there's like this famous story of him. He was working on Dark Knight Strikes Again, the sequel to Dark Knight Returns, and he's working on this page, right? He's drawing it, and then he looks up at his TV, and there's the planes. Well, it was like, damn, dude, just give me the chills. Like, fucking, look at God. But like, he looks up on the TV as there are these planes hitting the towers, and then he looks down at his page, and there's the Batmobile flying into a tower. And he's like, what the fuck?
There's probably a million stories of things like that.
Yeah. But there's always been this like fan, not appreciation. That's always been there, but fan concern that he might be going through something health wise, because he seemed to have got so like frail, and what's the word I'm looking for? Like a bone, like a softer bone, brittle. Like they have that look about him.
Well, he's called getting old,
Yeah, but it seemed to happen like there's suddenly like a sudden onset, and people and the fans were just like, "Man, is everything okay with this guy?" And he was very quiet and private, So I'll be interested to see if there's any validity.
Where's that going to be?
So I don't know.
I saw at the end it said something about June 10th, one day only, or something.
That's June 10th in theaters. It looks like Cinemark.
Good God, man! Stop eating them.
Sorry.
You need to get that for us.
So yeah, I'm all in for that.
Yeah,
I'm all in for that. All right, so let's do some Q&A.
Q&A. Hey, Bobby, if they want to send in a question,
I'm glad you said that, Chris.
You can email us at nerdrageradiomail@gmail.com.
So our first one is from Paul C.
Paul C.
How do you eat your string cheese? Do you actually use it as intended, or do you just chomp it up? If the latter, when did you actually start doing that? I'm going to fuck y'all heads up with this.
I never peeled the cheese apart. I just eat the stick. And I'm not even sure I knew that was a thing.
Oh. Just eating the sticks. What about you?
Peel.
You're a peeler.
I peeled. I mean, I don't eat it now because I'm vegan.
Oh, and you have to let us know.
I care about the souls of animals, so I don't eat that cheese. But I peel. When I did, I would peel it.
It's funny because you're a vegan for health reasons.
Correct.
It's out of your hands.
Correct.
But I was somewhere with you recently where we were sharing a meal together, and they brought in there was a vegan option, or you had brought some vegan food so that you wouldn't be a burden, and they brought in a platter of the main course, which is usually a protein, usually a meat, and as soon as they brought it in, you went, "Ew, meat!"
yes. I mean, it's just kind of fun to lean into the silliness.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So, all right, you ready for mine?
No.
So, I take a pan. That's not how I do it.
You cut up with a knife.
I take a pan. I get the pan searing hot.
Oh.
I unwrap my string cheese. I place it on the pan until it gets a nice, like not burnt, but crisp layer on it. And then I flip it 180 degrees and get a second one. Now it starts to take the shape of like a square more than a circle. So then you can use the two straight edges to flip it on one side, get your third side. Now it's three sides to a box, and you flip it on the other side. Now it's a perfect square from sitting on this thing, and it's got this little subtle crisp outline.
I'm here for it. I like it.
I put it on a plate. I get some red sauce. I heat it up, and I cut it and dip it in a red sauce, and it's like a poor man's mozzarella stick.
Yeah.
It's not hateful.
No, it's great. It's delicious. It's delicious. All right. So next one is from not Irish Andy, as he wrote it, which I like. Questions on AI. What's up, Spell Tablers? Sorry if this is an older topic. You've had a couple of discussions over AI art and whether it could be defined as true art. What if the lines were blurred a little bit more? Would you still consider it art, or are you a hard pass on all AI content? Do you think you or the general public would credit someone as being an artist under these circumstances? All right, are we ready? We're determining whether or not they're an artist.
So this is a yes or no?
I'm guessing. That's how. All right, so what if you fed only your own creations into AI, so the results were only based off of your work?
And what is the exact question we're answering? Is it considered art? Is that
yes.
it?
Would you still consider it art, or are you a hard pass on all if the lines were blurred?
So it's hard to say because it's not just pulling your stuff, right? It's the prompts you put in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the if splitting hairs, but if that AI were only trained, because that's the thing. Mm-hmm. That's where you lose me, is if it's trained on everything and then you put your art in, it's taking something else out there and amalgamating and making a product. But if for some reason you were like Frank Miller, mm-hmm. and you had a ton of art, mm-hmm. and then you only trained that AI on that, and then you put something in and it created something new, but it was only trained on yours. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
If it's a model that's trained on all comic books and you put in all of Bobby's art and
right.
crank something out, no.
Right. Well, like for example, I've put pictures of some of my dioramas I've built into it with some cues and like, you know, what could I get that's similar to what I'm doing? And it's giving me some different but you know, it puts plants in there and just all this other oddball fill-in stuff.
Yep.
So that's probably I'm hoping the toughest one.
So I think once again, it's so nuanced. So even, all right, so you feed it your own creations, right? Mm-hmm. But what are your creations, right? Like, are your creations a true expression of something, or did you create, this mug, mm-hmm. Because this isn't art. This is a creation.
Right.
I
mean, somebody designed that, and in that process, I think they created art.
So I don't.
You don't think whoever took the time to design this bottle they don't consider themselves an artist?
They may consider themselves an artist, but anybody could consider themselves an artist. Like you take the guy on the street that has like the airbrush set and the templates, and he makes like a pyramid with a moon behind it, and the pyramid is reflecting in the water.
Are you talking about the guy with the spray paint? Like
yes.
Ocean City? Yeah.
They may consider themselves an artist. I don't.
We're not going to have this conversation, but I think if you're creating something from nothing, and that's the thing, you're not with AI. You're not necessarily creating it from.
So what about this stool?
Great stool.
Art. See, to me, it all has to do with intention. Like the person that designed this thermos. Mm-hmm. was doing it because he had a job to do. He was hired to do it, and he just okay, I'm gonna fulfill this task,
form and function,
and it could be a great design,
right?
It could be
that could have been revolutionary.
It could be a revolutionary design. It could be a brilliant design, and all those things could be true with it also not being art.
Okay,
to me, it all has to do with intention. You could have a shitty thermos that doesn't even hold the fucking liquid, and that could be art.
I'm sure one exists.
No doubt in my mind.
Probably a Balenciaga thermos with a hole in the bottom or some shit that people are carrying around on their bag.
But it's all, to me, about intent. It's about intent and expression. So, it doesn't really have to do with what you did, because you could be an incredible craftsman. Uh-huh. If you're not expressing anything in that, my father-in-law is insanely talented as a carpenter and I want to say wood maker, but that's not the right woodworker, so to speak on that. What? But you know, he'll make a table and he'll go the extra mile, like the lion's paws holding the ball, all that kind of stuff. Like he's incredibly talented, and I would say that to the day that I die. He's crafted. He's a master of his craft. He's skilled and talented. That doesn't necessarily make him an artist, you know. Whereas you could have a guy that doesn't have any talent necessarily, but is expressing and creating something that is. The intention is for the expression, and that is art. Like I often, my general rule on this is that the not AI, aside from AI, is that the artist is who defines whether or not it's art, and the populace are who defines whether or not it's good.
That's fair.
But with this, it's like it just depends on the creations. It depends on the creations for this, because like if it's a whole bunch of Stanley bottles or whatever, then you put that in and it's not necessarily even though you created them, it's not necessarily art, and it's not necessarily not art. It's like it's that one's. I think that one needs more clarification on the
That's fair.
on the question. The second one: what if you used AI as a tool to help generate a black and white comic that's not your work, but you color in the cells? So once again. For me, the coloring, it depends. If you get a document in that's like, I want this coloring to look similar to Alex Sinclair's color work in X-Men 1 through 5 or whatever, and you're just like, cool, I'm going to do my job and whatever, there's no art there. Yeah. If you're like, man, I want to make this look like this story. I'm reading this story. This story feels like a 1930s black and white film, and I want to give it that feeling. And now you're trying to express something in it. Like now you are an artist.
Well, here's a question. Yeah. So if we look at
and now the coloring
of
is
these
art.
Books. Okay, there you go. And
yes.
There's a colorist. There's you know, an encourager. So there's so many people involved that to say that, you know, I don't know. Jim Lee drew this book. Mm-hmm. He drew it.
Alex Sinclair probably colored it.
Yeah.
just
adult coloring books. People doing those, are they artists?
No.
Okay. Then I guess that kind of answers the same question.
So but it all depends.
There's one that
because they can be.
They can be, but if you are use create me a comic book about Rey as a Jedi and she's whatever.
So that's what I would say is that story is not art.
Right.
But if you really express something in those colors, that could be art.
It could be.
Just the coloring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's this guy that takes like children's coloring books and then makes them like horrific,
right,
monsters.
And
now he adds pencil work to it, but the way he colors, like he expresses with a template that's already there.
Because I think there's a difference between, and I think this is where it gets confusing for people, and this is where people are always like butting up against me, so to speak, when I try to say like I'm not an artist in this specific space or in this specific space, because people are like, no, you are. Look how good it is, and it's like, no. I'm proud of that, and I can see where I still need improvement, and I can see I see all of my shortcomings as well. Don't get me wrong, but I have a skill here that I've developed, but that's not art. That is a display of skill. And then there's something else where like you might hate it. Yeah. But I really had some shit in my heart that I was trying to get out. And you might, that just looks like a bunch of squiggly lines. I was like, yeah, I hear you. And I wouldn't expect you to buy it because I can see how it's not aesthetically pleasing. But this helped me. I felt something and I was trying to show how I felt, and that's it. And that is art.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, like, I think it can, once again, it can be. 3, same as 2, but AI generates from your body of work. So that's similar to the one that we talked about earlier, which you were saying with Frank Miller, where that could be more of a gray area, I suppose.
Yeah.
4, you draw and color a comic, but AI wrote the story. Once again, that goes back to 2. Like, the story is not art.
Yeah.
The coloring and drawing could be art if you are expressing something in it, or it could be a display of a skill if you happen to be skilled at it.
Story could be. I mean, story writing can be an expression of
100. It can be,
but I mean,
I don't know if it can be if the computer does it.
Yeah, ultimately, that sounds more like a collaboration, with a computer than art.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for all the content. Thoughts and prayers for Chris's wife. Hope she continues to get better.
Thank you. She is, I'd say 90% right now.
I love that. She looked good. She looked healthy. She looked, Eric B writes in. He says, "What's up, peeps? Now that everyone is going back from traveling and hosting, by the way, thank you, Bobby and Laura and family for being such amazing hosts. What is one of the 2 things you are all looking forward to as far as getting back to normal? Hope everyone is rested and ready for the normal day grind." For me, it was once again getting control of diet, sleep, and being able to not have my to-do list overwhelm me and get some things done.
Yeah.
That's probably my big 3.
I took vacation this week, so I'm trying to get a bunch of stuff done around the house and catch up on. I have a diorama company that my wife is a key component of. So I think today it's the conversation is, are you ready to get back to work?
What you should do is have me come over one day and I'll like hide in the bushes with a pair of binoculars and be like, who the fuck is that? Like, that's just my workers' comp guy I hired.
So he saw you mowing the grass. So that's funny.
And that, I think that'll do it for today. Chucky, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, man.
Much appreciated. And shout out to Joe. Hopefully he can be here next week. Hopefully. Shout out to Marilyn Phil on Twitter and our notes. And shout out to Dante, who put me in a couple weird spots this weekend, but I'll never stop loving him. And he handles the Facebook. And shout out to Ricky Ticky Timber on the videos. And with that,
tasty testicles.
Tasty tank.
tight dick player. I should have done a tasty dick, but I'll just relax.
We'll keep it tasty. Good stuff.